you don't know, this is my Avalanche. It is pretty rotted. You know, this whole section I took the plastic off, and there's like a gigantic hole in the side of the truck. So I plan to cut this and zip tie that back on. But I need names. You guys got to give me names to come up with for this. I'm not good at naming stuff, but right now I'm starting. This is going to be the first video in the series. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this series. I know I'm excited for it. I've never turboed V8 before, so we're going to turbo a V8 now. This is the plan. I've got a whole bench full of parts over here. Obviously some other stuff here that I'm not talking about, but I got this turbo right here sent to me by Max Beating Rods, and they sent this to me a while ago, and I've just been waiting to put it in. So it's pretty large. I forget the exact specs. I think it's about a 1 AR side on the exhaust wheel, and it's pretty large turbo, but it's not too big. You can see, you know, the casing is pretty thick on this, so it's pretty heavy. It is just a journal bearing turbo. We're gonna see exactly how much power we can make on this, just probably on like a few pounds right off the bat. I don't want to go crazy with it. I think a few pounds would be a good place to start. So I'm gonna do this turbo, but first I want to do all the supporting stuff. So there's a lot of stuff you need when you're gonna go ahead and do a boosted application. So you want to make sure that you have adequate fuel, and that not only means supply to the rail, but it means injectors as well. So I have a earlier video about all my injector stuff if you guys want to look at that. I got all kinds of data that I was doing, flowing everything with my flow testing rig that I made, and so I have all these injectors here that are flow tested, which I'm going to match up to particular cylinders, and hopefully none of these labels fell off of them, but these are all a nice flow match set of 8 to use on the truck. So these are going to be going in pretty soon. So now the first thing that I want to do is do a fuel pump. So I can move the turbo over here, and I'll show you guys right here. We have all of our stuff for a fuel pump, and right here we're going to be upgrading to a Walbro 450, and this is an in-tank pump. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the gas tank down tonight and show you guys. I'm going to try to do this and still get to work tomorrow in the same vehicle. So this is my Walbro 450. It should flow 450 liters per hour. So we have to put this guy in the actual tank. We will pull out the sending unit and we'll put it in. And it comes with a hose here and a wire to adapt and some other plugs and stuff. We'll see what of this we're going to need and what we can reuse from the stock stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead right now and give you guys a rundown on pulling it out of the car. So on a pickup, it varies. I would say your best bet on a pickup is, especially if it's an old rotted one, your best bet would be to take the bed off, and then you have clean access to all this stuff under here, and you don't have to worry about much. In my case, I just actually had the fuel tank out of this thing because my fuel pump died. It wasn't the fuel pump, rather. It was the fuel lines. But while it was out, I put a new pump in it just because when you have it down, you might as well. So I went ahead and put a new pump in it. So this actually has a brand new pump and sending unit, the whole 9 yards, and it has new fuel lines. That's the other thing, is if you're pulling the tank down in an old vehicle, the fuel line's rotting, you may not be able to get the connections off, and you may actually end up breaking one of those lines. So this is sort of a risky business here for these old trucks. You kind of got to know what you're doing, and a lot of people, if they just don't feel like doing anything, they cut a hole in the bed. But I don't really have the option with this truck since it's an Avalanche. It's not really a separate bed design. It's like a unibody vehicle. If you guys don't know about these, it's totally one piece right here. I'll show you. Basically, ignore the big subwoofer, but it's basically one piece to the back window here. This will fold down and you can actually get into the bed from the back here. So this thing is pretty cool. It is 2003 and it's got just over 200,000 miles on it, and this is the candidate that we're going to boost, and we're going to make good power on this thing. So I'll show you guys the underside. You can see the tank right here through that crack. I'll get underneath, but what I want to show you is the rust under here too. These are the rocker panels. These aren't looking so hot. So I don't really care visually about this vehicle that much. It's not going to be like the Honda. This is just going to be a fun turbo daily, something to drive around. So you can see my fuel tank under here, and this tank is just about empty. I've been trying to run it empty. I'm running on fumes right now. I made it home from work with the fuel light on, So I know that we are low, probably 5 gallons or less in here. It is a 32-gallon tank, so it's huge. I'm gonna have a heck of a time trying to get it down. I'll probably go down on an angle. I think I really only need to get at the front stuff. As long as I can get the sender out, that's what I really care about. So we're gonna see if we can just gently ease this thing down. We got 2 tank straps, a couple of 15s, one right here, and the other one is over here, right there. And these like to snap, and the J clips that go in there also like to snap. So if you're doing this, you probably want to get new J clips, and yeah, that's something nice to have. But I just, like I said, did everything, so it should all be nice and loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to do that. And the filler neck connects back here. So there's 2 hoses on the back of the tank here. I'm gonna disconnect those for the filler neck, and we should be able to start letting this thing down on a jack with a board underneath it. And then I'll go ahead and make my way to the connections up top once I get a little bit of breathing room under there. So that's the plan. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can pull the sender out of this thing. So I'm currently under the car towards the rear, and you can see where, so I get the flashlight to show you. You can see we have our line here, and this guy is our vent line, and he goes to here, which is the vent valve. So that's one of those lines you don't want to break. You just gotta make sure that you keep an eye on it. And maybe you're deleting this stuff because you're doing totally crazy stuff, but I'm gonna keep this since it's a daily. And we got our little area there where it sits in the frame rail. This likes to rot out. Now's a good time to undercoat that if you're interested in saving your truck. And up here on top, we have the fuel pump down over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the 2 connectors that are on it, and see if I can disconnect the fuel lines, putting a rag over it too, just to make sure that I don't mess with getting fuel in the eye or anything. And we should be able to drop it low enough in the back to you know, finagle it out. It's kind of a pain to get it out with the way that the rear is. It's so tight against the axle, you kind of got to come out on an angle. So we'll see if we can get this thing out. We're pretty close to having it break free for us, and we'll be able to get the sender out. So I think this is the way to do it. If you guys don't have a lift, you know, it's going to be made harder for sure. This was a lot easier at work, but this thing basically has to come all the way down on this side before it can come down on that side. So you're going to have to get the gas out of this tank. It's just, there's no way around it. One way or the other, the gas has got to come out of here. So, you know, turning it and tilting it this much, it was angled a little bit more even. It definitely would have come gushing out the back if the tank was full. The filler neck is at the top. You could do something to plug it, but you know, chances are you're going to want to empty it. Maybe your best bet is to go ahead and lower it down a bit there with the filler neck off and suck out the residual in the bottom. And once you siphon that out or suck it out somehow, you know, that's your best bet, I think. But this guy is just about out. I'm just going to go make sure I don't have any lines connected or anything like that. And then I'm going to drop it fully on the ground and slide it out over here, and I'll show you guys. And it's really not too bad. So here we go. The plan worked. The tank is down. So all you really got are these 2 main lines right here. And there's nothing much else to it, you know. So we got one vent line and one that is a feed line. And then we got the stuff that goes to the canister here, and then there's the vent valve that goes to the canister up there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic setup. So now we got to get this guy off. So there's, oh yeah, and there's 2 plugs here. Don't forget, this is the power to the pump, which we're gonna run our own separate relay to this guy, and this guy right here is the fuel tank pressure sensor. So less important, but if you bust this, you will have a code too. So be careful with that. It's just like pushed in there. Anyway, we got this fuel pump ring. We got to take this ring off. So this ring here, mine's all full of grease because I was trying to get it to not rot. I'll grease it back up when I put it on. You guys should too, because these things rot out like crazy, and when this rots, you'll get an evap leak, and it's not fun to take off. And if this whole ring rots, then you gotta try to get a new one, which, you know, sometimes they may or may not be available. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this tab back with a screwdriver. I have a tool for it. You can just use a hammer and chisel and just hammer this thing counterclockwise, and this ring will spin counterclockwise and unlock. But this guy right here is gonna hold you back, so I'm gonna use a little tool with that, and then I have the GM tool from work, and I'll use that to pull this off. Pretty small unit. I just changed one at work today, and it was like way bigger. So this is pretty easy, I think. We're just gonna go ahead and pull it apart. I went ahead and busted the tabs off right here. You can see there's a little tab there. You can basically pry on this with a screwdriver as you pull up on that and do both sides, and it should pop out. And we have what I've got going on here. But yeah, so it should come apart. I have yet to take this apart, so this is my first time. Looks like we got the pump down there. There's this other line here, and that's like a little line. Not sure what the little line is for. We got the big line and the little line on the pump. So I may have to do a little bit of looking because I'm not really sure what that one is or what it is, but I guess we will see. I think it's probably the pressure bleed off. Looking at it, it's probably if the pump's flowing too hard or there's an obstruction, that's where it bleeds off. So I'm guessing that's what that is. And I think this spring, hopefully, was in here. I don't know where that spring was. That'll be fun. So we're gonna have to figure out where that spring goes. So I've got everything all disassembled here, and the only discrepancy I have is this hose right here. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this. The wiring portion seems like it's not gonna be too bad. All I need to do for the wiring is cut this end off here, and they gave me a couple of joints here for some butt connectors. I'll probably end up using those, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make my own setup here. Basically, you make your own plug. So I'm just gonna put my own end on here, and then it should plug directly into this guy. So if I set up this guy right here, it'll plug directly into him, and I can just take these leads and run them into here, and then I'll have, you know, my own plug, so I can remove this at a future date. But yeah, that's pretty much how I'm gonna do it, and it seems like it's not gonna be too bad. So I feel like I could just cut this and wire this to this. Maybe that's what I'll do, because then I'll use the factory plug here still, and I think that might be my best bet. And then I eliminate all these extra wires, because I don't need all these wires. It's nice to have this plug on there, but it really doesn't matter if I have this on there or something else. I can really do this however I want. So no need to follow the instructions. Less connections, the better, I think. So if I just chop this right here, and then I chop this right here, I'll essentially make my own new patch cord here, and it'll just be on the pump and go to here, and I think I should be able to make that work. So here's where I'm at. I've got the pump in here, the sock right here, and I've got my hose is installed. I put it on the top of the fuel pump first, and then I put it on the feed right here. The blue line is the feed line, and the green line is the return line. I was thinking of the newer trucks that have a returnless system, but I actually do have a return. So what happens is it sends it to the rail, and any fuel not used sends it back on this return line, and it gets sent through this hose right here, and it comes down into the bucket. So whatever's not being used will get fed into the bucket and fill up this cup. And I think that's where the spring goes right there. I found that spot that it likes to sit, and it does keep it nice and springy. So I don't know, maybe you guys will talk some smack about me using 1/4-inch fuel injector line, but you know what? I think it's fine. This is fuel line. It's for fuel injection, but it is 1/4-inch, which is kind of small. But I'm hoping that it doesn't cause too much of a restriction. The way I see it is, it's about the same size as this is. So if I'm not changing this, what's the point in running a big old line here if I'm running this stock thing here? What I should do eventually is cut that off, and you run your own separate line. Yeah, it cut out, but what I should do is run a bulkhead, up here, and run my own AN lines out of here. But that's like for crazy setups. I don't think I'm gonna need that much power. I think this will be plenty of fuel flow for me. If I need to revise it in the future, I don't mind doing that. But for right now, all I'm really going to do is cut these wires and link them up. I'm just going to go ahead and use these little butt connectors and make sure the wiring is correct. I'm going to look up the schematics, but I'm almost positive. Actually, in fact, I am positive. Gray is power and black is ground, and we're just going to do the same thing here. Give these two guys here a little hookup, and then we should be all set to reinstall this in the vehicle after I put it in the cup here and make sure that it fits. And then I'll cut this back a little bit, and we should be all set to install this guy, and then we got to get working on our relay setup. So I got the wiring down over here, and my two crimps are on there. We got the connector going up to the top and down to the pump. But what I did do just now is there's some tabs in here, and I ended up trimming them so that the pump sits more flush. When you push this thing up to the top, the pump actually sits flush in here now when you push it all the way. I'll show you guys. It sits flat in there, which before it did not. So I think now I shouldn't have as much trouble trying to close this. I was having a tough time trying to get it to clip in, so let's see if it's better. You know what? I made sure of it. I fired a self-tapper right in here, so we should be good to go. He is going to make sure that nothing will pop out, and even if the other side pops out, it won't come fully out of our little cup. So we should be good to go here. We have this one return run in here, which is where he belongs, and the pump is sitting here. We got our line fed all the way up, and we have our connections made. So this guy's ready to drop back in the tank and seal it up. And then we just got to get some power to this guy via a relay and some thicker wire, which I could save for a different time, but I think I'm going to do at least the hard part now and get all this wired up with the relay to give this guy a big feed, which I think we have to kind of do now, and I'm going to work on that. So it is a few nights from when I shot those last clips there. It was kind of crunch time. I had to get it done that night because I wanted to take that truck to work tomorrow. And yeah, I really wasn't too keen on rushing it like that, but I just wanted to get it done so I could drive to work. I may have to revisit it, but you saw the way I had it fitted in there. I think it's going to be okay. I was thinking about maybe I should have drilled a hole in the bottom or something like that. I should have done more research, and I may have to do that, and I may resize the line, and I may redo the wiring. I may redo the whole job. I partially regret it, but I'd like to see how well this hack job flows. Maybe I do have problems, and maybe I don't. If I don't have problems, I'll probably leave it. But if I have problems, I'll redo it. So that's just where I'm at with that. So I ran a relay, which I was going to show you guys over here. I'm kind of into a different project now, but this relay right here is how I have it wired. You can see we got black, that goes to ground. Blue is your positive, which is going to take battery positive voltage at all times. So this is the one that I ran a wire all the way up to the front of the vehicle and ran it right off of where the alternator goes to the main little fuse there. I'll show you guys. And I actually fused the wire. And this red is unused for the most part. You don't use this guy, so I just cut him off. White goes to your switch, which is going to go to the factory fuel pump power wire, which is that gray wire that you see. So you're going to cut that wire, run that to the white, which is the switch. So that will switch the relay on. And then yellow is the wire that actually goes to the pump. So you're going to run, basically you run it through here and out here to it. And then this is your positive power, your constant, and your ground. And so this essentially is going to redirect power from your power wire here that you can run a nice fat wire and run through. This is a 30 or 40 amp relay here, so this should be able to handle it. And the fuse I put in there is 20 amps, which I think is more than adequate. Yes, this is going to be part 2 here. I have everything all apart, intake manifolds all off, but what I really wanted to show you is over here, and I have it tapped in right where this battery fuse box, not fuse box, but just this little battery box is. There's a ring terminal on there, and I just tapped into there. I cut it out for my, I had like light bar in here, cut it out, and I put this 20 amp fuse in line, just crimped it in, and I have these. It's kind of a hack job, but I have two 16 gauge wires running because I didn't have any, I kind of wanted to do like 14 gauge or 12 gauge would be nice, I think, but I didn't have it, so I just ran two 16 gauge wires. I'll probably redo that with 12 gauge. It'll be pretty easy to redo. I just need to order some wire that's a bit thicker, but yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. We got this all set up. Seems to work really well. The fuel pump comes on, powers up really nice, sounds pretty loud. I'll try to show you guys that at a later date, but it does work, and my ground is just a local ground underneath that I grounded to the body on the underside, and then all I did was crimp and heat shrink everything, tape it all up under there, try to make it as waterproof as possible. If it does have a problem, it is a bit of a pain to get to the relay. I may have to partially drop the tank again, so hopefully that's not the case, although it's pretty easy to just drop the tank, I think, and get to it. It wouldn't be that bad, not the end of the world if I had to do it. I don't mind, but we're living and learning, and we're going to try to do this all one step at a time here. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you like, stick around for part 2, which is coming up. We're going to take this whole thing apart. As you see, we'll get everything all apart here, and I'll show you guys this process too. We're switching out the injectors, changing all the gaskets, which was all shot. 200,000 mile motor, and nothing of this has ever been changed or touched, so it's going to be nice to do a refresh and everything, get it all cleaned up. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe for the rest of this build, as well as more stuff on the Honda. Tomorrow I'm going to the junkyard to get a distributor, so we're going to try to get that thing fixed up. If you guys are watching and you're Honda fans, definitely stick around for that, because it's going to be good. I wanted to try to daily it, but I just got to get it fixed. And I'm nervous to take this down, but as soon as that thing's ready, then the cam's going in this thing, and I can start messing with this, which will be fun. And yeah, I just want to get that thing as a reliable daily right now, so that's kind of plaguing me, but we'll get there. Anyway, I'm done talking. Peace, guys. Thank you for watching.